Now, the next question is in Craig's lawsuit with Hodl, he
Mhm.
publicly goes on record to say the reason he doesn't sign the PGP wallets, etc., or the Satoshi blocks is, uh, he says, identity doesn't prove, wallets and stuff like that, or signing a block doesn't prove anything. But when pressed by the lawyers, he actually eventually caves in and says it will give the game away and it will all be over if he signed it with the PGP. Um, do you think that Craig is strategically biding his time till he silently files patents, secures the legal Bitcoin IP rights prior to signing any wallets publicly? And do you think there's a game plan going on here?
I do. So, in my opinion, first of all, I agree with Craig's assessment that if you make it about, oh, he signed with the keys, like that becomes the headline forever. Like it becomes Craig the celebrity, which definitely has its benefits. I think that would be a net good thing for like BSV price appreciation and that kind of thing. So it definitely makes some things easier, but it also makes it's feeding into this like super toxic media hype cycle about like crypto and Bitcoin and that kind of thing too, where it's feeding into all the things that are unhealthy about the industry, essentially. That like, oh man, like this awesome founder guy. It's very like sort of Silicon Valley pumpy, like, oh cool, now we can all be rich. And that's clearly not where Craig's head is at on why the technology matters. And um, he's clearly a big fan of the tech. He gets stressed out when he can't work on his patents and things like that. He's at heart, he is an inventor, and I've seen it. Given that, so I was in Norway for the Hodl trial. I was in Miami for the Kleiman trial. I've done, I don't even know, 60 or 70 days of court sitting 10 feet away from Craig and just meticulously taking notes. And one of the things that stands out is during break time, he'll pass papers along to his assistant that contains inventions that he's working on. Like he has an invention idea while in court, and is passing it to her and saying, "Hey, like type this out. I like get this to the R&D team, that kind of thing." So it's his head and his heart are very much on the technology, um, and partially like he's autistic. He's not a neurotypical human where or someone like myself who's an extrovert be like, oh cool, I'll like be on TV, become a little more famous, like that's cool, like that would be good for my career and all of that kind of thing. He looks at that and that's just very stressful for him because he wants to be quiet, like he wants to be essentially in a hole and working with an R&D team, people that can challenge his intellect and understand what he's working on and just making that kind of progress. So um partially I think the pomp and circumstance that comes from him signing a Satoshi is the exact opposite of what a person like him would be interested in at all. He doesn't want to be on, Oprah talking about, well, let's talk about the Satoshi years now that we all know. Like that sounds terrible. So um then there's also the legal aspect of it. It's like if he's Satoshi, well, there's all kinds of issues with, okay, well now you're officially the issuer, and that has all kinds of drama associated with it, but both legal and personal and all kinds of other things. There's certainly tax implications and all kinds of stuff that I think he would rather avoid probably. But then there's also the legal strategy, even just with like the Kleiman case, for example. Like the case is still, it's in appeal. Like there hasn't been any progress on it for a while, but if he proves he has access to those coins, well, he owes $143 million judgment or something that he's been pretty coy about whether or not he can pay, which is a legal tactic. Like this is what a good attorney would advise you to do and how to treat the case. Like, yeah, they can have the money when they get the money, but they need to work to get the money, and that's how court works. But if he can prove he has access to whatever it is, $50 billion worth of Bitcoin, well then all of a sudden it becomes a lot easier for the person who you owe money to tell the judge like, hey, look, this guy definitely has access to this giant pile of money, Can we make him, strong arm him to pay? And there's a few situations where that might be relevant too. So he has every incentive to keep it a little vague. It's good for people to assume he doesn't have the money. There's also the security aspect of it. If I was a billionaire, I would want people to think I'm poor, because if people know I'm a billionaire, well, there's lots of people that are like, you know what, it might be pretty easy to rob Kurt. And so he's got to deal with all that too. And so the incentives, while it seems like, man, he's got to be tired of people calling him fake Toshi and all this stuff, I don't think he cares about that. He's been abused his whole life. Like, verbal abuse from a bunch of internet jackals is not something that is, breaking Craig's heart, basically. Like, he has all of these very, very big real problems to deal with in his real life. And so I think he's going to keep it vague as long as he can, until there's a very strategic reason to switch that strategy out.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I think definitely that's what is going on. I think Hodlnot famously said Craig owns nothing, because it's like the soccer player Hakimi. He's tying up all these assets under different names, trusts, for tax implications, but also he doesn't want to release the Kraken until he has all his ducks lined up in a row. And people call him, the Da Vinci of our age. And I really do think that he's the new Da Vinci of our age. He's a polymath, engineer, lawyer, theologian, computer scientist. I've talked to him myself. You've talked to him. He's just on another level of intelligence. But
For sure.
yeah.